All right, a very good morning wherever you are watching us from. You are right on time as we start the morning program here at Kirk in the morning, as we seek to give you a very interesting show starting from this particular minute as we go on for the next 2 hours as we deliberate on the Ruto's legislative agenda. This morning we'll be talking about some of the hefty statements that he made yesterday in regards to reviving the country's economy and also laying out a blueprint of what he expects to turn around the country's economy and the country's situation. That is our discussion this morning. Also, Joan Mutugi is a gospel artist I will be making right after the political discussion will be coming in on our Entertainment Friday. That is what we are lined up for you. But before that, as we always do, we'll take a review of what is happening in the roads and also take a glimpse of what is written in the newspapers. Good morning this particular Friday, the last day of the month of September. Welcome aboard. My name is Chris Sambo. But first things first, we take a look at what is in the roads. Alright, and as we take a look at what is happening on the roads, and I just want to begin with one of the major roads in the that links into the Central Business District. That is the Thika Super Highway. That is one of the major roads, and Thika Super Highway this morning doesn't look so much good. Right from survey, I can see from my map there is so much congestion, traffic not moving at all in the junction connecting Muthaiga and Kiambu Road, as well as Thika Road all the way to Pangani. The traffic isn't up, at least when you passed Pangani heading into the Central Business District. That is the Thika Super Highway. Doesn't look so much good this morning right from survey. And just looking at yet another road, I just want to take a glimpse of what Mombasa Road looks this morning. But before Mombasa Road, let me take a glimpse of Jogoo Road. Jogoo Road doesn't look so much bad, but right from Makadara all the way before you get to Shauri Moyo, there is so much traffic right there. As you can see, there is so much snarl-ups at different points, but the heavy traffic being right after Makadara. There is a lot of traffic as you head towards the Shauri Moyo Road, linking up to Lusaka Road as you get into the Central Business District. That is Jogoo Road that doesn't look so much good, and Langata Road this morning doesn't look so much bad. I can see right descending all the way to Nyayo National Stadium. Langata Road doesn't look so much bad this morning. So if you're using Langata Road, then you're on the right path to get where you are, going right on time. And just looking at Ngong Road, can see some different snarl-ups at different points. That means that Ngong Road is moving, but as you get at different points, then there is some little traffic snarl-ups, significant with the traffic lights as well as the junctions at that particular road. That is what the map says this morning, because the traffic is moving as well, but doesn't look so much good this morning. Central Business District doesn't look so much bad, but there is a lot of movement. I can see vehicles coming in through Haile Selassie Avenue all the way to the Central Business District, as well as different Kirinyaga Road looks so much congested, and the CBD has a lot of movements this morning. So if you can be able to avoid the Central Business District this morning, then it will be of your great importance. That is what the Central Business District looks like. Nairobi Expressway looks so much clear. That is the newly constructed Nairobi Expressway, which straight all the way to Westlands from Mulolongo, looks so much good this morning. Mombasa Road as well doesn't look so much bad as well from this map. Only some little snarl up when you get at Nyayo National Stadium. Past Nyayo National Stadium, that's where now you get a little bit of a traffic, but as you head towards Haile Selassie Avenue, the traffic isn't up entering into the Central Business District. And that is what the major roads this morning are looking like, just from Ngong Road, Mombasa Road and Thika Road, as well as Langata Road. That one, those are the major roads, and the Central Business District as well doesn't look so much good this morning. So much movements and so much that is going on. Of course, it is a Friday, so that is what is happening on the roads. We'll be taking a glimpse maybe later on to try and find out what exactly is happening at the time we get to look at it. But for now, that is what is in the roads. We take now a glimpse of what is in the newspapers this morning. And on the newspapers this morning, I got a copy of the Daily Nation and the Standard newspaper as well as the People Daily, and just want to take a glimpse of what the Daily Nation has on its top page, and talks about Ruto issues 300 billion shilling spending cuts orders. The president warns against increased borrowing to finance recurrent expenditure. That is an address of President William Ruto's address to Parliament yesterday, where he put out some quite orders to make sure that it turns around the country's economy. And the Daily Nation goes ahead to ask a question: are we a broke nation? Where President Ruto paints a picture of a dire financial situation in his inaugural address to open the 13th Parliament, and issues directive to Treasury that is expected to scrap FT allowances paid to government workers, slash expenditures and also on hospitality, and also cut down on unnecessary foreign trips. That is the move by President William Ruto now to restore the country's economy in regards to the agriculture enterprises, as well as the social security funds, and also touching on matters to do with the government CDF. That is what has been on the loggerheads of the members of Parliament, with the Supreme Court rolling out its constitutionality. And that is what the Daily Nation talks about in its top page. And on the second page talks about dental assistant who triumphed over deafness to achieve success. That is a story by the Daily Nation on page 2. And an in-depth of what President William Ruto talked about yesterday is on page 4 of the Daily Nation, on Ruto to rescue plan targets 300 billion cut on spending. And that is what the Daily Nation reports on its top page. And that just besides the Ruto story, there is a puzzle there on ICC. What next for Kenya after the demise, or rather the death of lawyer Paul Gisheru, the sudden death of Kenyan lawyer while out on 1 million bond, and as he awaited for the ruling of his case by the ICC, has put President William Ruto's administration in the international spotlight. That is what the Daily Nation talks about as well. On page 8, talks about Azimio apps war with top court on poll ruling. That is regards to the response by the Azimio coalition on the full judgment that was released by the Supreme Court on the presidential election petition filed by Raila Odinga. The Standard newspaper talks about Ruto's radical changes to spur the ailing economy. President William Ruto, in his first address to Parliament, proposes a new taxation regime. Of course, he proposed the change of the names of the Kenya Revenue Authority to Kenya Revenue Service, saying that the implementation of some of his directives will come subsequent with his announcement as well in the next few days, and the Treasury told to save 300 billion in budget. That is also an in-depth of what President William Ruto highlighted yesterday, and what also builds our discussion this morning, because we'll be trying to evaluate the Ruto's legislative agenda and what he laid out yesterday at the Parliament. And on the same page talks about Supreme Fast, as Raila says of court decision, and that is story there by the Standard newspaper. On page 3 of the Standard newspaper talks about now the recent entertainment story where rapper Coolio drops mic and heads to gangsters' paradise, talking about the death of one of the hip hop biggest names of the 1990s. That is the rapper Coolio, who was pronounced dead this week. And that is a story by the Standard newspaper. And on page 4 is an in-depth of what the president new proposals are to grow the country's economy, of course, touching from the judiciary, agriculture, loans and Kenyan saving, as well as housing, and also talking about matters to do with the country's debt and the digital economy, health and electricity, as well as devolution. That is the story by the Standard newspaper, and also signifying the most important, the starting operations of the national parliament. That is what the Daily Nation and the Standard talks about. The People Daily as well on its top page talks about the agenda for members of parliament, as President Ruto asks National Assembly to pass laws that will favor small business owners. That is an in-depth of what President William Ruto highlighted yesterday, and matters of the heart worry doctors as deaths hit 10%. That is a story, an alarming story there by the People Daily, talking about high intake of junk food, alcohol, smoking, inactive lifestyle blamed at event to mark World Heart Day. Of course, that is an ongoing event at the coastal region of Mombasa. And that is what is in the newspaper this morning. Remember, our discussion this morning will center on the Ruto's legislative agenda. We'll be trying to, highlight and try to deliberate on what exactly did he mean for the country, what statements he made and what they meant for the country. But we'll be coming back with that discussion in a short while after this very short break, because my guests are already here in our premises. We'll be talking matters to do with Ruto's legislative agenda and also trying to find answers of what we expect of the government. The cabinet named earlier this week. What do we expect from that cabinet? The challenges are have already placed themselves on the table, but what do you expect from the government? What do we expect from the cabinet? We'll be talking about in a short while, but for now, we'll take a very short commercial break. Stay where you are. Remember, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Kirk TV Kenya, and also you can send in your feedback and be part of this discussion as we commence in a short while. A very short break, but don't go far away. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Jumapili hii kwenye jukwaa la moderator.
Sisi ni watoto wa mfalme Mungu. Lazima tudumishe heshima hiyo. Na tutaidumisha namna gani? Kwa kunena na kutenda mambo ambayo yanadumisha na kuonyesha heshima ya Mwenyezi Mungu mwenyewe. Kwa hivyo usijidharau tena. Jipe heshima. Kwa hivyo wewe na mimi kama Wakristo, kabla hata hatujatoa ushuhuda wetu, yafaa watu waone kweli yule ni wa ufalme. Yule ni kuhani. Kwa sababu maneno na vitendo na mienendo inadhihirisha yeye ni wa ufalme. Ukimuona Mungu anakujalia, hiyo ndio namna yake. Ukimuona akikupa neema, hiyo ndio hali yake. Ukiona akiwa mkarimu kwako, anacheza kiyeye, hiyo ndio hali yake.
Jumapili hii saa 1:30 kwenye jukwaa la moderator. Kaunti ya Meru, eneo la Chogoria, kitovu cha umisheni na upana la mashariki ya Kenya. Tangu mwaka 1922, miaka 100 baadaye, athari za watangulizi kama vile Dr. Clive Ivan na wenzake, matunda ya kazi yao, kumbukumbu tunazivuta. Ujio na makuzi ya elimu, maadamu kumsaidia Mwafrika kupiga teke ujinga.
Since we started diploma in nursing, we've been able to qualify more than 2,500 nurses.
Afya bora kwa wakazi, hospitali na vituo vya afya vinavyosifika kote.
Chogoria Hospital has a main healthcare provider in this region, has been providing general healthcare services and also started specialized care services, so patients are able to access the basic care that they require in the various fields of health.
Kilimo cha kahawa na majani chai, kitega uchumi cha wakazi.
Wakati ule hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa hospitali, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa shule, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa kanisani. Wakati kahawa ilikuja, haya mambo yote yalitendeka. Watu walipata pesa ya kulipa shule, wakapata pesa ya kulipa hospitali, na katika kanisa walipata pesa ya kulipa.
Yote haya yakiwa chini ya mwavuli wa kiroho wa kanisa la Kipresbiteri la Afrika Mashariki.
Safari imekuwa pada shuka. Disruption moja ilikuja wakati KCA ilileta mambo ya mabadiliko ya mzungu arudi kwao, atoke Kenya. Na hiyo ili affect hata hapa kwa sababu watu wengine wetu karibu thuruthi mbili, 2/3 walitoka kanisa la Presbyterian.
Tunatarajia nguvu mpya ya kuendeleza kazi kwa kuwa baada ya kuadhimisha miaka 100 ni kama tunaanza upya kazi ya umisheni upya. Kwa hivyo tuna matarajio makubwa ya kwamba mioyo ya watu itaweza kuelekezwa upya kwa ajili ya kutumika wakiwa na nguvu mpya.
Sherehe za maadhimisho haya zitakujia moja kwa moja hapa Kirk TV.
Karibuni nyote
Tuadhimishe pamoja.
Losing a beloved one can be one of the hardest life experiences. Death brings a total change in many setups, the family taking a huge position. Death also provides an opportunity to celebrate the departed and their achievements on earth. Kirk TV provides for you an opportunity to announce death and funeral at affordable fee. For more information, write to us via announcements at kirktv.org or call 011 00 90 647.
Families should be the epitome of love. But in recent times, this seems like a dream because all we're witnessing is rape cases, high divorce rates, betrayal, and even murder.
So you have to protect her.
Maintaining marriages because
there are also many who are going through issues in their marriages and they can't run to anybody.
The issue of killing, the issue of murder seem to be on the rise.
And that is why we bring you Transforming Families, where we are all about just that, transforming families.
The application of the law does not select the rich or the poor.
People are supposed to take responsibility for their lives, but society has always looked frowned upon it.
Here we educate you on the laws of the land.
Adoption does not have so many hurdles and so many laws, and it's not difficult.
Matters related to administration of justice.
It's very difficult for you to inherit from an estate of a deceased if you're not a child or a bona fide wife.
Cover crime related topics.
Issues of torture are criminal issues that the government will take very stern action.
And many, many more.
Leave your worries with the lawyer. Let them go through, let them worry about how you will answer your questions. Let them worry about what you will say in court. They will guide you.
Sometimes the law is very difficult, but you have judges now to interpret the law.
Don't miss Know Your Laws Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV.
Jumapili hii kwenye jukwaa la moderator.
Sisi ni watoto wa mfalme Mungu, lazima tudumishe heshima hiyo. Na tutaidumisha namna gani? Kwa kunena na kutenda mambo ambayo yanadumisha na kuonyesha heshima ya Mwenyezi Mungu mwenyewe. Kwa hivyo usijidharau tena, jipe heshima. Kwa hivyo wewe na mimi kama Wakristo, kabla hata hatujatoa ushuhuda wetu, yafaa watu waone kweli yule ni wa ufalme, yule ni kuhani, kwa sababu maneno na vitendo na mienendo inadhihirisha yeye ni wa ufalme. Ukimuona Mungu anakujalia, hiyo ndiyo namna yake. Ukimuona akikupa neema, hiyo ndiyo hali yake. Ukiona akiwa mkarimu kwako, anacheza kiyeye, hiyo ndiyo hali yake.
Jumapili hii saa 1:30 kwenye jukwaa la moderator. Kaunti ya Meru, eneo la Chogoria, kitovu cha umisheni na upana la mashariki ya Kenya. Tangu mwaka 1922, miaka 100 baadaye, athari za watangulizi kama vile Dr. Clive Ivan na wenzake, matunda ya kazi yao, kumbukumbu tunazivuta. Ujio na makuzi ya elimu, maadamu kumsaidia Mwafrika kupiga teke ujinga.
Since we started diploma in nursing, we've been able to qualify more than 2,500 nurses.
Afya bora kwa wakazi, hospitali na vituo vya afya vinavyosifika kote.
Chogoria Hospital as a main healthcare provider in this region has been providing general healthcare services and also started specialized care services, so patients are able to access the basic care that they require in the various fields of health.
Kilimo cha kahawa na majani chai, kitega uchumi cha wakazi.
Wakati ule hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa hospitali, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa shule, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa kanisani. Wakati kahawa ilikuja, haya mambo yote yalitendeka. Watu walipata pesa ya kulipa shule, wakapata pesa ya kulipa hospitali, na katika kanisa walipata pesa ya kulipa.
Yote haya yakiwa chini ya mwavuli wa kiroho wa kanisa la Kipresbiteri la Afrika Mashariki.
Safari imekuwa pada shuka. Disruption moja ilikuja wakati KCA ilileta mambo ya mabadiliko ya mzungu arudi kwao, atoke Kenya. Na hiyo ili affect hata hapa, kwa sababu watu wengine wetu karibu thuruthi mbili, 2/3 walitoka kanisa la Presbyterian.
Tunatarajia nguvu mpya ya kuendeleza kazi, kwa kuwa baada ya kuadhimisha miaka 100 ni kama tunaanza upya kazi ya umisheni upya. Kwa hivyo tuna matarajio makubwa ya kwamba mioyo ya watu itaweza kuelekezwa upya kwa ajili ya kutumika wakiwa na nguvu mpya.
Sherehe za maadhimisho haya zitakujia moja kwa moja hapa Kirk TV.
Karibuni nyote,
tuadhimishe pamoja.
Losing a beloved one can be one of the hardest life experiences. Death brings a total change in many setups, the family taking a huge position. Death also provides an opportunity to celebrate the departed and their achievements on earth. Kirk TV provides for you an opportunity to announce death and funeral at affordable fee. For more information, write to us via announcements at kirktv.org or call 011 00 90 647.
Families should be the epitome of love. But in recent times, this seems like a dream, because all we're witnessing is rape cases, high divorce rates, betrayal, and even murder.
So you have to protect her.
Alafu anaua mwanamke na anaua watoto. You say maintaining marriages because race.
There are also many who are going through issues in their marriages and they can't run to anybody.
The issue of killing, the issue of murder seem to be on the rise.
And that is why we bring you Transforming Families, where we are all about just that, transforming families.
The application of the law does not select the rich or the poor.
People are supposed to take responsibility for their lives, but society has always looked frowned upon it.
Here we educate you on the laws of the land.
Adoption does not have so many hurdles and so many laws, and it's not difficult.
Matters related to administration of justice.
It's very difficult for you to inherit from an estate of a deceased if you're not a child or a bona fide wife.
Cover crime related topics.
Issues of torture are criminal issues that the government will take very stern action.
And many, many more.
Leave your worries with the lawyer. Let them go through, let them worry about how you will answer your questions. Let them worry about what you will say in court. They will guide you.
Sometimes the law is very difficult, but you have judges now to interpret the law.
Don't miss Know Your Laws Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV. Jesus said, "Call unto me and I will answer."
How can you just leave a job and it's from that job that we were getting food and our daily bread, and then you tell us that God spoke to you?
Consider your ways.
Whenever Jesus was not received, he moved on.
Follow me.
Brothers and sisters, in following Christ, we lose. You may lose relationships.
It's an individual calling. Somebody who is committed to the one they are following.
But what is the cost of following Christ?
Following Jesus is not always after other rehabilitation.
Let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God.
Call unto me every Wednesday at 8 p.m. only on Kirk TV.
Where there is no vision, the people perish.
You'll find people talking about saying, we discussed this for the last 5 meetings or for the last 2 years or 3 years, but nothing seems to move.
Here on Effective Manager, we help you get leadership and managerial tips.
You cannot be popular in the workplace as a leader. You can only be respected because of being fair and providing leadership.
Strategy and board advisory.
You do not need to put in unnecessary and undue pressure.
Stimulate new ideas in leadership and management.
You get an opportunity to bring diverse views and ideas to a problem so that you can be able to identify a lasting solution.
You can't afford to miss The Effective Manager with Dr. David Muturi, Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV.
All right, and very good morning. Welcome back again to Kirk in the Morning as we continue with our conversation this morning. We'll be talking about Ruto's legislative agenda, what he laid out at the parliament yesterday, indicating various issues and various directives as well as orders in reviving the country's economy and also trying to turn around things for the Kenyan people. What exactly did he mean with the many statements that he made at the Parliament buildings? We'll be talking about in that discussion in a short while, because my guests already are in studio, and on my near right is Joseph Kagai, is a leadership consultant. Welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you, Chris.
And in the middle is Biko Shoya, is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Welcome to the program this morning.
Asante sana.
And on the far end is Gundi Kevin, is a political analyst as well as a politician. Welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you, sir.
And gentlemen, I want to welcome you in our discussion this morning, and the discussion not being not any new, because I understand everyone was trying and see what exactly the president will put out in trying to restore this country's economy. Just to begin with you, Kagai, what did you make of Ruto's submissions yesterday at the Parliament?
Once again, thank you, Chris, and my fellow panelists. I think we have a president who wants Kenyans to think that he's already on target. He knows where he's going. For me, as I look at it as if he's already in campaign mode for 2027, and he wants to get everything right. But the question is, will he? Mm-hmm. So I think he's set on a good track, right. But with a statement that Kenya is broke and whatever he's proposing, we can only wait for the confirmation of the ministers. Mm-hmm. When they are vetted and confirmed. We want to see this government performing exactly what they promised. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Ashoya, what did you make of Ruto's submissions and what he spoke about?
In my opinion, it was a fairly balanced submission, considering the fact that he had a very he had a manifesto, or rather Kenya Kwanza had a manifesto that was very ambitious. Now this is now when reality is now dawning on him, because remember when he was doing the manifesto was speculative. It was futuristic, but then the future is now here with him. And now he has to actualize whatever it is that he had promised people in their manifesto. So even with the actualization, now actualization is informed by what is now presently in government. He's taken his time. They've interrogated what exactly it is that they're dealing with currently as a government, and trying to fit in whatever it is that they had promised Kenyans in their manifesto. So in my considered opinion is that it was a little bit focused. It was Kenya Kwanza manifesto leaning, considering that the hustler narrative featured very prominently. It is a submission that is, in my opinion, people-centered. We are waiting to see how they're going to implement it. But then, insofar as aligning it to the manifesto that they had given to Kenyans, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, they must have scored around an 8. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right, Mr. Gundi.
Yes, sir.
Ruto talked about so many issues, and he laid out, his blueprint on what we expect him to do for the country. What do you make of his submissions?
Actually, I'll say two things. First, Ruto spoke to 3 constituencies. First, he spoke to the government. Then he spoke to the people. And of course, to the government, he spoke to the judiciary. Then he spoke to the parliament and to the people. And also, to the judiciary, he was saying, I'm not like my predecessor. There is no tug of war between us. So actually, you have your side. Then to the parliament, both of us, the 3 of us, both arm of the government, we have the judiciary, legislature, and the executive. So he was telling them, guys, we have one boss, and that's the people. So judiciary, you will play your part. Of course, we will fund you. So play your part. Then back to parliament, because you see, they are divided. We have Kenya Kwanza and we have Azimio. So at least like his speech was also like reconciliatory from the campaign, because we see like we are branch soldiers in the campaign, but now it is time to work for the people. So we are together in this. And again, you see like in the past regime, parliament was like a conveyor belt, in which like if the president wants something, they just pass it. But now he was saying that now in this government, it is our government, not my government. So like I will not load it on you. So this is how we'll operate. Now, a parliament, like you will have your lost glory. Okay? You will do the oversight. So it's not about like the Kenya Kwanza, or we have the majority in parliament. No, but it's about reason. Like if you want my CSS, they will be there for you. So call them and discuss as parliament. Do the oversight, not just stamping. Like for example, like a few days ago, like when Governor Mutua was speaking, when there was this question of who was the majority between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, whether they are a coalition or a party. Then he was saying that now you see like when they were passing that bill, but brought in Azimio as a party, they did not interrogate it. And when he asked, he was told that wakubwa wamesema ipitishe vile iko. So he was saying that now in my government or in this government, it will not be that way. Parliament, you will have your authority, you have your say. Yeah.
And talking about, his entire statement running up to on the judiciary, I don't know if my producer has that clip, but we can take a listen in on what Ruto said about the judiciary, if you have that clip. All right, I understand that I'm trying to get that clip of Ruto on judiciary. But as we even continue this particular discussion, let's talk about what he laid out in regards, to changing the situation in the country. We saw him give an order that the National Treasury now has to cut 300 billion of their proposed 900 billion budget. Kagai.
Yes.
You look at him and the orders that he's making and the tone of his speech, talking about, we've been going to this direction, but we have to go to this direction. What do you make of his directive as far as reviving our economy is concerned, especially the cutting of the budget?
Two things come out from the president, with all due respect, is that he wants to appear a darling of the people, a person who is not loading over others. But that statement by itself gives you an introduction of the kind of president that we'll have, who makes orders and want them implemented. By saying that the ministries must find a place to cut costs, does he refer to the current budget or development budget? Because he did not specify. I will be thinking, maybe are we cutting on the allowances? Are we cutting on staff? Are we cutting on other consultative expenditures? He did not specify, and he leaves that to the minister. Go and find it in your ministry where you can cut this cost. And 3 billion is not pocket change. 300 billion was a half of the budget in maybe 15 years ago. So I think he's putting up a system within his government that you must find where the money has been going to. The cases that we have on corruption, most of them you will find them in the pending bills. Companies are tendered contracts that are not even there. You will find a ministry with contracts that does not even exist. When you go, maybe a road is designated to be built on an area, but on ground there is nothing. The big ghost about the Kimorere and the road, when you look at that case, it shows you that money were moving from treasury. Yet physical study was not even done for the place where these dams were supposed to be made. When you look at these cases in court about corruption, all of them, it is money that moved without consent of government. So Ruto knows exactly what was happening and tasking his ministries to go now for those areas where the loopholes. You remember during the campaigns, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga said that we know where this money goes out. So Ruto is a grandmaster on these things. He knows the government inside. Remembering he went into into parliament at the age of 31. And he has never left government. From 1997, he has never left government. So Ruto is a person who has been studying the government for a very long time. And he knows when he says cut this cost, he knows what he's saying. And he does not mince his words. And even coming to the same statement by the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, or Rigiji as they call him nowadays, he also gave a directive to the envoys, who will be ambassadors, saying that in 2 years, if you will not have performed, we will recall you. So I'm looking forward to a government that is performance oriented. They have targets. If you don't perform, we have so many in Kenya Kwanza we want to bring in. And you know, they had a lot of friends. So if you have been given a position, a minister, if you can't cut this cost, there's another minister in waiting. So you have to perform, or the subsidies at the bench.
You look at what he's talking about, of a president who knows where exactly the problem is. Do we see a president who was perhaps watching and seeing that this is happening, but when my time comes, I will show you how to deal with it? Because he said that I stayed away. I think we will get a listen into what he talked about in the reflection of the election. But before that, you can just respond to that.
Yeah, and I just want to echo what my colleague has said. This is someone who's been member of parliament for 15 years. This is someone who's been in government as a minister or a cabinet secretary, as they are referred to currently, for quite some time. He's been at the center of government. And so he understands how government works, and he understands even where government monies are lost. Insofar as the 300 billion that he talks about being that can be saved, of course President Ruto understands where that money can be gotten. I was having a discussion with someone this morning, and we were just saying we are back to 2002, 2003 when President Kibaki took over government. You remember that those were the days when when as little as even tea and biscuits in government offices were cut off. And the small savings that we are getting from especially government institutions, these are the monies that then he proposes to consolidate all that money and have the monies being used probably in the 50 billion hustlers fund that is proposed. So it's not like Ruto doesn't understand where this money is coming from. We are talking about a budget of 3.3 trillion shillings. And out of the 3.3 trillion, 2.1 billion is going to recurrent expenditure. And of course, I want to concur with him that is unsustainable. It's at the very least immoral to have 3/4 of your budget going to recurrent expenditure. We are having almost 240 different types of allowances for our public employees, and what Ruto is saying is that, hey, look here, we can cut out of from all these allowances, because allowances constitute almost 80% of whatever it is that we are paying our public officers. So it is something that Dr. Ruto has looked into and he's been properly advised. Some of these propositions that he's giving on national televisions in terms of his submissions are things that have already been interrogated by financial analysts. And I want to trust that if well implemented, we can bring down allowances. If you have discussion with people who work for government, they will tell you that usiangalie mshahara, angalia marupurupu. Yeah, that is a very common phrase that you'll find with people who work in government, that mshahara ni kidogo lakini marupurupu ni mengi. So it is the trick is in their allowances. You would find that there's a government employee who earns 30,000 shillings or even 50,000 shillings, but then at the end of the day they're walking home, or at the end of the month they are walking home with almost 200,000 shillings, as in 200,000 shillings. So if the government departments, if the government ministries have been told that, hey, look here, we want a saving of 300 billion, I can assure you that the president knows what he's talking about, and that it is something that is very, it's very practical actually. Yes.
And before we come to you, Gundi, there is something the president talked about when he began his conversation, and I wait. It's something that we need to listen in and hear what the president said.
We took this assignment further with a paradigm shift of issue-based political leadership anchored in credible platforms, feasible programs, and transformative commitments aimed at positively affecting the well-being of all Kenyans from the bottom up. In summary, and this only happens, by the way, in Kenya, the sitting deputy president became the candidate of the opposition, and the leader of the opposition became the candidate of government. And as things would be, the opposition candidate won the election and became president. And the president became the leader of the opposition party. That's the beauty of our democracy. And it only happens in Kenya.
Right, Gundi, it only happens in Kenya. What do you make of that statement by the president?
Actually, before I answer that, let me go back to what my friends were saying about the 300 billion. Actually, like Iya said, but we're in a situation of 202, where like the country had no money. And of course, like you see, I can compare the 5th with the 3rd. Because you see, like President Mwai Kibaki had been in government initially. In fact, since independence, he was there. And again, he was the longest serving vice president for President Moi. But then, we can't say that he was doing nothing, because you see, like the duty of the deputy president is to advise his principal. But then, with advice, you can take it or leave it. Now, let's come back to the president. You see, like, campaigns are like seduction. Like while seducing your girlfriend, of course, like you will tell her the good words. But then, now after that, now that she's in your house, either like she finds that things are not as you are saying, or they are as you said. Now, for our president, actually, like he's saying that I told you this, I'll give you that. But of course, where we are, of course, the economy is in a bad shape. Now, this is what we must do. Is okay, like it's not about knowing like where the money is, but it is what we must do. You see, like because now, like he was saying that now we have to borrow like around 900 billion shillings to fund the budget. But then he was saying that, you see, we can't borrow for recurrent expenditures. So at least you must just find a way of cutting down, like let's say, you see, like the previous government was so much focused on infrastructures. So maybe like he was saying, maybe like you want to cut up on those, or like my friend has said, like maybe you want to cut up on those allowances, which is also good. But then, let's come back to what he has said now. I think this he said on a light term, and of course it was just to say that our democracy is growing. Because he also said that in 2013, like they got, out of 30 counties, they got more than 25% votes. Then in 2017, it increased to 34 counties, gave them more than 25. Then in this election, 2022, now they got, out of 39 counties, they got more than 25%. So you see, like, our democracy is growing. Yes.
And just coming to you, I can see you smiling. Do you want to respond to something?
I think this will be the most interesting government. This man, Mr. President, Dr. Ruto, must find a place to squeeze in that pin and remind his competitors, I defeated you hands down. whether in UN, whether in Kenya, wherever he will be, he will always remind the president and the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that you had your game, but I beat you squarely. Squarely in that place, it was not just on a lighter note. It is reminding that I have come from a serious campaign that everything was against me. The government machinery, as they say it, the big people, the big economic drivers in the country, everybody was against his candidature. So he must remind Kenyans every time, don't look me as a small person. I have beat them all. He's like the Kipchoge of politics, running a marathon of your own, ensuring that you embarrass your competitors badly. So that's what he was doing.
I think that is part of what builds up his pinch into trying to control the government. Sure, he's making some serious orders and directives as well. When you hear a president talk about, I have instructed the National Treasury, you understand this is a president who means business. What do you make of his immediate moves, especially that one of directing the National Treasury, and also saying that he is going now down to the ministries, and I have just observed since he named his cabinet, whenever he's making a statement and that statement refers to your ministry, he has to point you out. I have tasked this gentleman with this particular job, and he has to perform. If you look at the bigger picture, is he a president that is trying to prove that indeed he can work despite the notion that he's inheriting a country that has no legs, as they say? What do you make of his his conduct, especially now moving forward?
See, you have to, Chris, you have to contextualize and know the person of Dr. William Samuel Ruto. He is a hands-on person. The people that have interacted with him closely, and some of them who are good friends of mine, they will tell you he's not the kind of guy to, well, he will delegate, yes, but then he will keep very close supervision to whatever it is that he is doing or whatever it is that he has tasked you to do. So that is the kind of person that you have. And you see, he's the kind of person who knows that he has so much on his plate that if he leaves everything to the people that he's delegated to, probably is not going to achieve whatever that he was, that he set out to achieve at the beginning of his term. This is the kind of person who's been in government, like we've said, for quite some time, and he knows that a 5-year period is a very short period of time. Which, if you're not very intentional about your intentions or about your targets, you may not achieve within the 5-year period. So he knows that whatever promises that he gave to Kenyans are quite immense. He knows that whatever agenda that he set out to achieve within his administration is quite big, and that time is not on his side. And that is why he's saying that if you're not going to perform in my government within a particular period of time, because you see, there's the issue of setting targets, and then there's also the issue of timelines. If you can't achieve your targets within a particular timelines, then you are going to come out as a failure. So he knows whatever he wants to achieve, and he knows that some of the proposals that, like let's say for instance. The national government CDF fund that was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court the other day. The president proposes to reintroduce the CDF fund, much as he understands that the same was declared unconstitutional. But then in his speech yesterday, he was saying that they will find a way that you really can't close it out. We can find a way with or particular clauses within the constitution that we can legalize the constituency development fund. And he even goes ahead to propose that even for the senators, we are going to have a kitty for you. We are going to have a fund for you, because I've been in your shoes before. I understand the very positive impact that the CDF fund has brought to the people. Because remember, the CDF fund actually talks to his bottom-up economic model, because it gives money to the very basic levels of the constituencies. So he understands. And if you look at the kind of person that he is, as an individual. He is the kind of person who would want to keep a very keen eye to the projects that he is set out to implement. So that is the kind of person that we are talking about. Kenyans must be ready to go with his style of leadership. And the only thing that we can do, like and like I've said in this TV station before, is that we may have held different political positions. That was during the campaigns. But then immediately the president is sworn in, he becomes our president. And when he becomes our president, we have to interrogate his manifesto as Kenyans. And the only thing, the only justice that we can do to ourselves, not to the president, to ourselves as Kenyans, is to support his agenda, because I'm very sure that his agenda is not that bad. We may have disagreed with it as at the time of the campaign, but then after he's become president, he becomes our president. We have to support his agenda, because it is an agenda that is going to benefit all of us as Kenyans.
His agenda, despite differing with him politically, then it's about time now everyone accepts that he has an agenda and that he has to fulfill that agenda. I don't know if my producer has that particular clip. We can take a listen in, because there's a critical statement that he made on the Kenyan debt. Of course, that is the elephant in the room. We can just take a listen in on what Ruto said on the debts.
Over the last decade, we have sought to close this gap with public borrowing. This year alone, we budgeted to borrow 900 billion to finance both development and recurrent expenditure. You're all aware that our total collection is 2.1 trillion, which is only enough to pay debt and to pay salaries. Everything else, we have to borrow. The government members should never borrow to finance recurrent expenditure. It is not right, it is not prudent, it is not sustainable, it is simply wrong. We must bring ourselves and our country to sanity. Over the next 3 years, we must reverse this and go back to the situation where government contributes to the national saving efforts by keeping recurrent expenditure below revenue. To this end, I have instructed Treasury to work with ministries to find at least 300 billion shillings in this year's budget so that we can remove it, because the market cannot sustain the kind of borrowing we are doing as government. Next year, we will bring it further down so that by the third year, we have a recurrent budget surplus.
And just coming back to you, Gundi,
yes.
You touched on that particular statement that the president has made, and you listen to him, and then you look at, then if he's saying that we were doing this wrongly, then what does he talk about, the exit of the previous regime, especially that he was part of it, despite saying that he was not an active deputy president. But you look at him and you see his directive saying that we've been borrowing too much.
Yes.
Did the former president, fall his eyes while doing this, that now the president was the deputy president was seeing but could not do anything, and now he takes over the mantle and says that we were doing this wrongly, now it's my time, that we need to rectify this and take it to the right direction? Was he just watching as the country sank?
Actually, we weren't watching, and all of us have been in this country. They disagreed. And of course, like we can say that the point of their disagreement was on this part, because you see, his duty as the deputy president is to advise the president. So what if I'm advising you, but you don't take my advice seriously? Because you see, for example, you see, the former president, when asked some issues, could say like, nifanye nini jamani? You see such kind of things. But now you see, like, now the fifth understand that now the buck stop with him. If it fails, it is not about the treasury, it is not about the CS or the PS, but it is about him as the president. So he must set the tone and he must tell the people how he'll do them. Yeah. So I think like on the previous regime, we cannot heap the blame on him. Because just like I said, like that during the time of Kibaki, of course, he was the vice president, serving the longest in the Moise regime. But of course, when he took over power, like we saw a total overhaul. Yeah, so I think we should expect the same with the fifth too. Yes.
Do you agree with that, Kalia?
I think Kenyans, we can be very unjust to the previous governments and even praise some that, in my opinion, did not do as much as the previous one has done. When we talk about 2002, we had an election whereby the one who lost graciously accepted immediately and went home. And became the official leader of opposition in parliament. And they checked government at that time. Kibaki had enjoyed a serious backing because he came through the NAC coalition.
Yeah.
What was NAC coalition at that time? It was all politicians under one corner. Remember, it was a time that we were breaking away from the Moi era.
Yeah.
And when you look at that warmth of leadership that he enjoyed from Raila Odinga, Charity Ngilu, even Ruto himself was with Uhuru going home, but the other team, all of that team, we can say now, apart from Musalia and Weta, the Azimio team of that time, they're the one who took over government. The 5 years we did not even feel so much about it, because when we came to the election of 2007, just before everything went bad, I remember Kibaki was with Uhuru as an advisor. He had these people that we say the previous government has failed. They were the one advising Kibaki. Kibaki was a very quiet person. He was an economist. He was looking at the economy and looking, how can we make this? And then all these other political leaders were giving him a lot of goodwill. But after 2007, what happened? Now, we have Prime Minister coming in. We have Ruto as a Minister of Agriculture and Education. Uhuru was a Deputy Prime Minister and also the Minister for Finance. And when you look at the big projects that were done, apart from Thika Superhighway, which else? Multi-billion infrastructural contracts. But when you flip the side of Uhuru Kenyatta, look at the immense settlement of land issues, the title deeds that have been given out in his era. Look at the major roads. When I hear people say, they call it the big push projects. If you want to develop an economy, you must create infrastructure first. For those who are builders, nowadays you first build the structural designs. You have to get it right. When you put up the pillars and the beams, a very strong foundation, now anybody, even if you go, they have some place to come and finish the rooms, okay? And that building is very, very stable. We talk about this debt. I think Ruto is being a bit unfair. And his government will find it very easy to grow the economy. Why? Because Uhuru has ensured there is a road at every corner of this country. Look at the roads in Mount Kenya. Look at the roads in Western. Look at even in North Rift. The roads have been laid. All an investor have to do is just acquire land, set up the place, electricity is there, water is there. Everything that requires a company to thrive, whichever corner of this country, even Lamu, it's already set. So we become so unfair to the previous government, which he was part of, by saying they overborrowed. Remembering when 2013 when Uhuru is coming, it is when the loans of Kibaki were maturing. You understand? So I am coming into government and the loans have matured, I have to start paying. Okay? I'm coming into government, I have this big plans that we have for housing and etc. And we need to make sure that this country is now stable for investors to come. Then COVID happens. The 2 years of COVID, nobody talks about it. When you start the government, yes, you are looking at a government who was not collecting taxes during COVID. They closed certain areas of the economy. There are churches who will never open, never up to now, and churches are very serious streams of revenue to some quarters of the people of this country. And actually those are the people now who have taken over government. The pastors and bishops. They are the ones who are affected so much. That's why they found it so sweet to work with Ruto. He was coming in with big money in churches to assist them because they were very down. Look at the entertainment industry. Musicians, bars and clubs, they all closed down, never to be opened. And those are serious sources of revenue to this government and even employment. So the 2 years of COVID, we were surviving with the 1,000 shillings per week given by the government, the kazi mtaani, and remember these are not works that can be taxed. So the government was spending and not collecting. So when Ruto is coming, the only challenge he has is to maneuver about the fuel cost, nothing more. And these things that about the Ukraine and Russia, the outside forces, they will settle down by December. So he has a country that is already prepared for takeoff. So I don't think they should be so unfair about the debt, because if we get our agriculture right, if we get some young people going back home, do agribusiness, this economy is ready for takeoff. But I don't think we should. Uhuru has done a lot of work. So thank you.
Yes, Chris. Yes. Of course, I want to add, and I want to agree to a large extent with what my friend has said. The Uhuru administration heavily invested in the hard infrastructure, just like my friend has said, and the Ruto administration that took government last month has a very easy task, and a very easy task, and that is why if you look at even the submissions that the president had yesterday, his first target is to bring our debt ceiling down. He understands, of course, he knows and he understands that we already have the proper infrastructure in place. The only thing that you now have to do, the only thing that you have to that we have to do as a country is to work on the software, because the hardware is already in place. He works on the software, and it's going to immensely benefit his economic model, that is the bottom-up economic model. Because with the bottom-up economic model, we are talking about the Mama Mboga. The Mama Mboga will not transport his mboga from Elgeyo Marakwet to Nairobi if there are no roads. There are already roads in place. The miraa farmers in Meru are not going to transport their miraa all the way from Isiolo and from Meru if there's no airport. There's already an international airport in Isiolo. We are talking about these miraa being transported to Lamu. We are not going to do that if there's no airport in Lamu. There's already an airport at Manda International Airport. So the infrastructure, like my friend has said, the infrastructure is already there. What President Ruto just has to do with his administration is now just to work on the soft, on the soft bits of the economy, which I want to submit is something that is going to it's something that is going to do very easily. The other day he had an international trip after attending the Queen's burial. I'm very sure he must have wooed a lot of investors to come in. Remember, much of what he said in his speech yesterday was, we are going to partner. He really wants to leverage on the public-private partnership, even on issues of electricity, on issues of water, which he touched on quite extensively. He wants really to leverage on public, private, and the only way he's going to achieve that he's going to tell them, hey, look here, we already have the necessary infrastructure, even on issues of electricity. We had the last mile electricity connectivity that has been running for the last 10 years. And I can bet you that even in the remotest village from where I come, there's an electric pole. So the network is already there. The only thing that we need to do is to work on increased power generation, so that then the consumer bills go down, right? So the hardware has already been put in place. It is only for this government to work on the software. Yes.
Good. They're talking about Ruto having now to fill in the small gaps that the bigger gaps were filled by the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Is in the right direction, in filling those small gaps?
Let me first disagree with them to a large extent, because of course the previous regime was Ruto government, and of course the first term they did so well. And in fact, like when they were coming back to campaign, they said that now for the second term, they said that in our first term we were able to do this, and that. But now, this is what is remaining. So we are requesting you to give us 5 more years, and we shall do the big 4 agendas. But then, when we gave them the second term, that's where they disagreed. Because Legistlative said that now we are deviating from what we promised Kenyans. We are not delivering our promises, you see. And of course, like in the second term, they have overborrowed. They have borrowed heavily, but with nothing to show. Because of course, some of these infrastructures, some of these big programs began even during the time of Kibaki. But then, we can say, and again you can ask yourself, you see, like laying down infrastructure is a long-term investment. But then, now, will you do a long-term investment and then you leave the short terms? Like for example, you see, like now we have more than 3.5 million Kenyans in their need of food, and 500 are facing starvation. And you see, like this is a problem that has been there in the past regimes, almost all of them. Like for example, like the first regime of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, he flagged food relief. Moi, the same. Kibaki, the same. Uhuru, the same. And he was saying that, of course, with my government, like I want to focus on the people. These short-term investment things. Like I will invest on the people. Because you see, like, of course, you have road in Turkana. You have electricity. But there is no food. They are dying, you see. Now, and as they were saying, but now, you see, now with the infrastructure, now what he has to do, he has to woo investors to come to the country. You see, that's what we call trickle down. And you see, like what the president has been saying, but now my focus now will be on the bottom up. Bring the people from the bottom. What do we have? You see, like as a country, like what we can pride ourselves of is the manpower. We have the people who can work, but there is no work to be done. And again, the backbone of our economy is agriculture. So you see, like if you are concentrating much on the long-term investment at the expense of the people, because people are dying. And of course, like I was following up on this thing. They were saying that you see the economy of Kenya has been growing gradually, and of course, in fact, we are richer. In fact, in Africa, Kenya has been growing gradually in terms of wealth. But this wealth is in the hands of a few people, okay? So what he's saying is that we need to focus on these people. We need to focus on the majority. What the previous government focused on was on the infrastructure, of which will benefit a few. But now, let's come down and benefit this common mwananchi. Yeah.
And talking about that, there's what the president talked about, on taxation, trying to answer what you talked about, resolving the issue of dealing with the minority. And there's something said about taxation. I don't know if my producer has that video. You can listen in to that bite.
The economic principle of equitable taxation requires that the tax burden reflects ability to pay. This is best achieved by a hierarchy that taxes wealth, then consumption, then incomes, and lastly trade, in that order of preference, so that those who are wealthy and have the capacity to pay should pay more, and those at the bottom of the pyramid should pay what is proportional. This is best achieved by our tax regime that is different from our current tax system, which falls way far short of this. We are overtaxing trade and undertaxing wealth. We will be proposing tax measures that begin to move us in the right direction. We will also work with the Kenya Revenue Authority on a culture change to make it a people-friendly, customer-centric organization. I am of the view that we should rename it the Kenya Revenue Service.
We've listened to what he's talked about, just assure you, he's talking about, we've been taxing the minority while leaving the majority who can contribute to our, revenue. He's also talked about, the reforms for the Kenya Revenue Authority and renaming it to service, so that we can collect more. Are we seeing a scenario where we want to collect more but we don't have?
Chris, we're not going to collect more that we don't have. Kenya is a very wealthy country, like my colleague has said. Kenya is a very wealthy country. But even before I answer your question, there's just something that was going on through my mind. Mm-hmm. If you listened to President Ruto's submission yesterday, he did not only give us proposals. He gave proposals and how to go about it, and that is one thing that I liked about his speech. When he's talking about collecting, 900 billion, or doing something, he's not only giving you a proposal, but then in his submission he was giving some kind of guidance of how as a country we have to navigate it, and that is one thing that I liked about his speech yesterday. Coming to his proposal about the tax regime that we've had, one, let me first start with KRA. The Kenya Revenue Authority that he's now proposing to convert it into a service is something that ought to have been done a long time ago upon the promulgation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, because it was the running call then. Where we had even institutions like the National Police Force being converted into a National Police Service, and so on and so forth. So it is something that ought to have been done in 2010, moving forward after the promulgation of the Constitution. If you have interacted with KRA of late, you realize that they have become a people-centric organization. In fact, if you have an issue with them, they are the ones on a monthly basis, or in my personal email, I receive on average around 5 emails from the Kenya Revenue Authority. Some of those emails are even inviting me for trainings on how I can comply with my tax obligations. So we've had an organization, or we've had an authority that is continually, trying to entice itself to its population. And if you've seen over the years, we've had our tax, our revenues going up. Actually, our collections as a country has been going up over the years. The collections as of last year was 2.1 billion. Collecting as in 2.1 trillion. Collecting 2.1 trillion is not a mean feat. In fact, their collection, they superseded whatever targets that they had in the previous financial year. So, insofar as collection of tax is concerned, the authority that is now going to be renamed the service hopefully has exceeded its expectation. Now, let me just comment kidogo about taxing the wealth as opposed to taxing the trade. If you look at that model that the president wants to introduce, it speaks to his bottom-up economic model. I would really want to stick there, because in everything that the president is doing, he's saying that, hey guys, look here, we want wealth to be taxed more, and the more that the wealth is being taxed, we are going to take that money and pump it down here to the mamambogas, to the mkokoteni guy, and all that. And previously what has been happening is that the previous tax regime has been that it matters not whether you are earning 10,000 or whether you are earning 1 million. We are going to tax you guys. If it is 16% tax, then it is 16% tax to everyone. So it really matters not how much wealth you have. So if, as an employee of government, I'm earning, let's say, 20,000 shillings, and you are slapping me with that 20% tax, then it means that out of my 20,000, you are already taking 4,000, and we haven't put in the statutory deductions of NHIF and NSSF and all that. At the end of the day, I'm going home with something that is very little, that cannot help me as a person. And the other person who is earning 1 million, we are living in the same country. When we come to the price of bread, we are all buying bread at 50 shillings. So that is the regime that President Ruto wants to change. And he's saying that if you have the wealth of, let's say, 1 trillion, we are going to be saying that probably the tax that we're going to be slapping you with is for instance 30%. But then the person who is earning 10,000, we are going to slap you with instead of 30%, we are going to impose a linear tax of 10%. So that then we don't really disenfranchise you as a low earner at the expense of someone who is who is a high earner. So that is the model that the president wants, and I want in all civilized and all established jurisdictions like the US, the UK, and all that. That is actually what is happening. Lastly, before I can give to my colleagues also to weigh in on the same, he comes in with a model where he is proposing that it's not just about our taxation regimes, but then we also want to introduce a situation whereby we want to introduce a policy whereby our economic model does not just benefit the big players. I'll give you a very good example. The subsidies that the previous administration had introduced, the fuel subsidies. The fuel subsidies were actually benefiting the large oil marketers or the large oil players, the likes of Shell, Total, Rubies, and all that. The subsidies never got to the small fuel market players. Like, let's say if I have a oil company that is operating in the village, it never benefited them because the subsidies never got to them. So we had a situation whereby there is an introduction of a subsidy to a big fuel or rather oil company, that of course is already benefiting because of their, the large, their scale of numbers, because they are serving so many people, so that even if they're getting a profit margin of 1 shilling, but then their customer base is 1 million people, they already have 1 million. But then you are getting a profit of 1 million, but then there's also you also been added a subsidy. So that is an advantage already. We have a small oil company in the village. They're only serving, let's say, 1,000 people. So it means that while the other one is benefiting, they're having a profit of 1 million. This one here at the bottom, where President Ruto is concentrating his energies in, is getting a profit of 1,000. But then he's getting a profit of 1,000, and he's also not getting a subsidy. So President Ruto is coming here to say that let us remove this subsidy of, let's say, 20 billion that we were giving you in a month, and take that 20 billion and inject it in the fertilizer. And who utilizes the fertilizer? It is the small mwananchi down here. So if you look at the way he's organizing himself, if you look at the way he's organizing his government, he's doing everything to the benefit not of the people who are the high earners, but the people who are the low earners down here. That is how I understand. That is how I understand Ruto trying to organize his government.
Yeah, isn't it something that will buy into the entire thing of trying to raise revenue by revisiting the mode of taxation?
One thing I have to give to the president, Dr. William Ruto, as I said in the beginning, is that he knows what he wants with his government. He has mapped out this country for the next 5 years because he wants a re-election. So he doesn't want to start on a wrong footing. What ails this country, it is not because we are not hardworking. It's not that we don't have business ideas, no. It is just because the operational environment, sometimes you work so hard, then you take very little at home. And it is because of taxes. When you look at the fuel taxes, the petroleum products taxes, they were brought in at a time when oil was being imported almost at zero. Some countries were giving it for free because after COVID, nobody was willing to buy fuel. It was over surplus. So the government, through its, I think the former president realized that if you have a car, you will support the one who doesn't have a car by paying more taxes. So everything that is petroleum, they added a tax that is almost, I think, 48% of the current price. So if today the parliament goes back and debates the increment of that tax in the fuel levy and everything and the products, you realize the cost of production will go down. That is where the politicians must come in the aid of this country. First of all, deal with the petroleum products taxes. Definitely the price will go down. When you look at the flip side of his statement, I like the way he says that trade should be the least taxed because you have an idea of business. But even before you start it, you have already paid tax. Before you start,
and it does not even picked up. And
they even ask you about tax compliance before even you start business. When you look at that person, even if they want to do business, like I have a side hustle of transport. There's a time we had a sitting with the current governor for Nairobi, Honorable Sakaja. We were looking at the number of transport operators in the county. You look at the matatus, how much revenue do they bring to the government? A matatu is taxed more than 100 times. Through insurance, they increase the tax for insurance. Through petroleum, through the what they call the seasonal parking tickets, they increase all those taxes. And this person is all just helping the government to transport the people from point A to point B. That is a trade that should be less taxed because if a circle has maybe 100 vehicles, look at that as an injection of the economy. He's employing people. If he's bringing more people from this point to that point, he's helping the economy to grow by making sure that people are moving.
People are moving, yeah.
Because if people cannot get to work, then the cost of production again goes Because I have to go with my whichever means. When you come to the Mitumba industry, there was a serious debate about it during campaigns. One faction said it is for the dead, and immediately I am happy that Moses Kuria has been appointed or proposed to be the minister for trade. Because the moment the Azimio side says for the dead, he went to Gikomba, started buying things and saying, I want to buy these things that have been called for, because the trade industry for this country, the Nyamakema, that has been the center of this campaign. Actually, the bottom-up economy has been squarely placed on trade, nothing else.
Yeah, true.
If Mama Mboga can sell their skuma and get a profit, everybody is happy. If the Mutumba guy can, the taxes for Mutumba be reduced, proper structures be made so that we have at least good, we don't have a lot of dumping for the same, also to allow our textile industry to grow. If you bring down these taxes, a person can go to Gikomba with 2,000, buy t-shirts, come to Kayole or Westlands, and sell those things and get a profit of maybe 100 per t-shirt. With that, the economy starts growing. There is a time when Uhuru was Minister for Finance during Kibaki's time. Do you remember there was something that they called the Economic Stimulus Program? What were they doing? They were injecting money into the lower level of trade. They even came up with the fish ponds. A guy who you don't have anything you can grow, you can dig up fish pond, put in water, start fish. I remember there was a serious show when they were doing this in Nyeri. You cannot just rely on coffee. The price of coffee was really down. So they were trying to inject money to the common mwananchi so that at least they can spur growth. And that is how Kibaki got money. So by lowering the taxes on trade, I'm sure we will be free to do business. Like they even went for online businesses with serious taxes. And I'm also catching this from his campaign team. We have people like Keroche. This is a big company that employs a lot of people in Kenya. And it's a Kenyan-owned company. When you look at the taxes that are coming from that company, and a company like East Africa EMBL, you will find the government may have been unfair to Keroche, because this is a Kenyan person whose market is squarely in Kenya, and he's giving employment to. Before you get work at EBL, the standards for operation there are very different from Keroche, but the quality of beer is almost the same. So when you look at KRA crashing down Keroche just for taxes, that was a very miscalculated move for the former government. You remember there is another company, Spirits still in Thika Road.
Africa.
Yes, the Kenya Bureau of Statistics went there and crashed that company, and it is closed. How many that company were employed from Ruto and Thika and all those areas? You cannot say. You remember there was also Castle Lager, a South African product that was under EBL. When you go to Thika Road, you'll find the structures are still there. Now I think there's a company that is doing plastics there. That was another big company, but because of the taxes, these small companies that want to thrive, they cannot grow. And if you kill those small companies, and the big companies don't have space for most of us who are maybe not able to climb that ladder, the economy will not take off. And we boast of an economy that is supported by the medium and small, medium and microfinance. Those are the people that sustain this economy. Okay, so if you overtax them, you close their businesses. To get a license is so difficult. Then you are stopping this country from rising from it. So I'm welcoming those remarks on him, because if you tax the wealth, but now let me push this also in there. When you focus so much on the bottom-up model, somebody is left to understand. If you take so much from the rich, and you know the rich hide their taxes a lot, because if something, you cannot tax loans, okay? If I take a loan and get that money put in this account and start a small business, you cannot tax whatever I'm getting, because it's not my money, the bank's money, I'm paying it. So they know how, the wealthy know how to hide their taxes. Only a common wananchi is taxed directly. But a rich man, even the president himself, if you look at the amount of taxes he pays vis-a-vis the income that he gets, there is a lot of gaps in there. So I think when they focus on the bottom-up economy, whatever they will do to stimulate that lower cadre businesses, that will be the where he gets it right. We say that the country is ready for takeoff. So if you invest in the people, and Kenyans are so hardworking that if you find a Kenyan in the US is doing so well because of Kenyans are very, very hardworking and intelligent people. Give them space, they'll create money. They'll create wealth for others.
Interesting. And just coming to you, Gundi, and I don't know, before you come to take a listening to what the president talked about, for us to achieve our revenue, we need to understand the culture of saving, and he talked about something that he wants to do for the Kenyan people so that he can enhance the culture of savings, hence now improving the way the government can get revenue. I don't know if you have that clip of Ruto talking about the saving of Kenyans, so we can play it.
Excuse me. If I can weigh in faster on this issue of widening tax base.
Okay.
There's two ways that government can do it. Because first, you see, the major source of fund for government is through taxes. Then, they can do it in two ways. First, there's this issue of trickle down. Because it is the duty of government to ensure that I have a job so that I can pay tax. Because their way of getting money is through me paying tax. Now, they can ensure that I have a job by two ways. First, they can attract investor. Tell them that, like my country, we have infrastructure, electricity, and land, of course, is cheaper, and will give you loan. So come and invest in my land, in my country. Then they come and they employ me as a citizen. Then I'm now able to pay tax. Now, that is trickle down. But now, what the president is saying that we have tried trickle down for over some time, but it is not working for us. Now, what we want to do, we want to try now bottoms up. If they can, if it is the duty of government to make sure that I have a source of income, then let it be, but it is now coming from the bottom, but not from up there. Now, the reason why that the trickle down didn't work so well for us, that's because, you see, for example, when you bring an investor from outside, they come, they invest in your country, but then, you see, they will take that money back to their country. That is one way. Then second, there is also, you can also do it in this manner, but you have your people in your country who are already wealthy. So you cut the tax burden on them, then push it down there. For example, let's say that we have billionaires and the millionaires. And of course, billionaires are a few. So you will cut down the tax of a billionaire so that the millionaire will be jealous, so that he will work hard to be a billionaire. Now, while he is working hard, he will try to expand his business, employ more people, work for him, then to make him a billionaire. But then, when this person becomes a billionaire, where does he keep his money? You see, with Africans, this is I think it's our culture. You find that somebody make up a China, New Jersey, whatever. They don't invest it back in the country. Or after investing, or after growing, they want to go and open another branch in Congo, Ethiopia, which is good, yes, but now that money is not in circulation. But now, what the president is saying is, but now let's focus on the common mwananchi. Let them sustain themselves. Let them have their own trades, so that at least we can get tax from down there. Yes.
And maybe you can take that clip, because I'm told our time is up, so that we can just make a quick comment on it. That clip of President Ruto on the culture of Kenyans to save, on what the government intends to do for Kenyans to start saving. Take that clip, and then we get a 1 minute comment from each, and then we conclude.
To encourage those excluded to save, I will be proposing a national savings drive to encourage those in the informal sector to set up their retirement savings plan. For every 2 shillings saved in the scheme, up to a maximum of 6,000 a year, the government will contribute a shilling for every 2 shillings saved by the private sector. Meaning that every Kenyan who will save 6,000 a year, the government of Kenya will give them 3.
Right, and that is the statement by President William. We're trying to encourage Kenyans. Just, I'm told our time is up. Just forcing my producer to admit that 3 minutes. I start with you, Kagia. What do you make of that statement, even as you make your conclusion remark?
I think I know. I knew Kagia would laugh about it. but let's hear from him. It's a very good move. Actually, yesterday I was talking to somebody and telling it's a good time to invest in our country, believe in our country, and the challenge is just creating trust that our money is safe in government. That is the problem. We're talking about NSSF. That even today's paper has an article on it on our funds. When we save with the government and our money is safe, that is the big question. If we want Kenyans to save, you must create programs to make us believe. First, NHIF is working. Because there are serious money taken from Kenyans through employment by force. You don't even get your salary before they get the NHIF funds. And I think in the next 2 months, somebody will be taxed even 2,000 for NHIF just only. Somebody is struggling to the Mama Mboga, they are paying 500 per month. But when they go to hospital, they are still told this car can only pay for the bed. And that is my money in the government. I only use it when I am sick. Okay? I'm happy about what the Kenyatta University, Ching and Rehalo, they are doing. They are creating so many services with the same card. But when you go there, it's only the bed. Now, when you come to NSF, we know the scandals in that thing. The Tassia 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our money has been spent investing on something that we don't even see returns. You have retired. You want just to access the 7,000 or 70. Still is a process. You have been working, and you see the government has taxed the employer to remit. There's a time I was working, and when I went to just out of curiosity to see if they have been remitting my money, I found for 8 months my salary was reduced, but not remitted to the government. So how will the government create, as he says, programs to make it so attractive for Kenyans to believe? Because he said 6,000 per year. Let's say they pay 200 shillings per day. That is 6,000 per month. Because if the program is so attractive, that is the best place a Kenyan, a citizen can hide their wealth for retirement. So they have to create programs that will prove to Kenyans, create trust that we can put our money in government. You can invest it because I will access it, maybe especially the young people. If you are at 30, start saving with the government. Yeah? You'll access maybe that money in the next 30 years. That is a lot of money that the government will have for development, because they are just borrowing from NSF and investing in our own country. Instead of going for the Euro bonds and all those things, they will be getting loans from our own wealth. From within. Okay? From within. So I think it is the best move. But trust issues. Who will be the person? They brought in the Ministry for Labor and Cooperatives. Those are the two institutions that can ensure the government has money. Because look at the chamas, how many people save their money on daily basis in cooperatives. You look at the Mwalimu, the Aspire Bank that is being acquired by Equity Bank. It is a bank by Mwalimu Sacco. Yet it is going down. So the government has to prove to Kenya that when we give our money to you, it is safe. Remember in this campaign, it was the brand was the Waizi versus the good people. Now the people who are in government, they say set a thief to catch a thief. I am confident this government will not steal. And my final submission is Ruto requires just people who can believe in his model. He knows it can work, but does his team understand that concept? I pray they do, And I pray for success of this government.
All right, you pray for success because success for the government is success for the Kenyan people.
Yes,
Assure, just
in 30 seconds. I knew you'd give me 30 seconds. I knew you'd give me 30 seconds. Let me say, lastly, in other jurisdictions, people look forward to retirement because whatever it is that they get in retirement is actually quite encouraging, and that is why you will find that there are some people, especially in Nigeria, who target retirees in other jurisdictions because they know at retirement those people have a lot of money. I'm praying for a situation whereby as a country Kenyans will be looking forward to retirement. That is one. Two, and lastly, is we need to shift from being a consumer economy to a producing economy, where we have industries that produce. You see, as a country, we don't produce anything. We don't manufacture anything. We need to move from being a consumer economy to a production economy, to a manufacturing economy. Because in so doing, then we will be, we will be expanding our revenue, our revenue base, and then bring down our consuming habits. So if we are going to do that, and I think that is what the president and his administration want to do as of right now, then we are like my friend said, we are already on the taxiway. We are just ready to take off.
All right. Thank you for utilizing your 30 seconds. Good, let's give you the same 30 seconds.
Okay.
Because any time from now we should be out of this studio. I'm being told that way. So in 30 seconds, what will be your conclusion remarks?
Thank you. I think I'll say that we are on the right track because, of course, we had a manifesto, and of course it was dubbed the plan. And of course it is good to say that the president has stuck to the plan. Of course, it was not just a campaign thing. It's not a campaign tool. But of course, I say that now that we are in office, it will be the plan that will take us that will take us forward. Now, agreeing with my friend, even if NSF was working, you see, like the president said that at the end of your 30 years of employment, you have only saved 70,000. Surely, even if you are given that 70,000, it can't help you.
No, it can't.
Yeah, so I think like we are on the right track with what he said. If we can save the way he said, and if the government can follow what he said, then I think I'm ready to go. You're right.
All right, thank you so much. Gundi Kevin, political analyst as well as a politician, Bikwa Shoya, advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and then Joseph Kagia, the leadership consultant. Thank you, gentlemen, for making time this morning. Kagai, thank you for making time this morning for us to have this particular discussion, and hoping that we can have a different discussion next week in a review of what will have happened in that week, because I understand that he might make any other statements coming this coming week. But what the same, this will end up this particular discussion on the Ruto's legislative agenda. But Entertainment Friday will be back shortly in a few minutes after this short commercial break. Don't go far away. Stay with us.
routinely on how to make the bed. Yes, like that. Very good.
That we have just put on this one's end and do the same on the other side and put it together. So we have 2 love hearts on this end and 2 love hearts on the other end.
Just believe in yourself. If you do have a talent, try and let it out. Don't sleep on it.
Kaunti ya Meru, eneo la Chogoria, kitovu cha umisheni na upana la mashariki ya Kenya. Tangu mwaka 1922, miaka 100 baadaye, athari za watangulizi kama vile Dr. Clive Ivan na wenzake, matunda ya kazi yao, kumbukumbu tunazivuta. Ujio na makuzi ya elimu, maadamu kumsaidia Mwafrika kupiga teke ujinga.
Since we started a diploma in nursing, we've been able to qualify more than 2,500 nurses.
Afya bora kwa wakazi, hospitali na vituo vya afya vinavyosifika kote.
Chogoria Hospital has a main healthcare provider in this region, has been providing general healthcare services and also started specialized care services, so patients are able to access the basic care that they require in the various fields of health.
Kilimo cha kahawa na majani chai, kitega uchumi cha wakazi.
Wakati ule hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa hospitali, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa shule, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa kanisani. Wakati kahawa ilikuja, haya mambo yote yalitendeka. Watu walipata pesa ya kulipa shule, wakapata pesa ya kulipa hospitali, na katika kanisa walipata pesa ya kulipa.
Yote haya yakiwa chini ya mwavuli wa kiroho wa kanisa la Kipresbiteri la Afrika Mashariki.
Safari imekuwa pada shuka. Disruption moja ilikuja wakati KCA ilileta mambo ya mabadiliko ya mzungu arudi kwao, atoke Kenya. Na hiyo ili affect hata hapa kwa sababu watu wengine wetu karibu thuruthi mbili, 2/3 walitoka kanisa la Presbyterian.
Tunatarajia nguvu mpya ya kuendeleza kazi kwa kuwa baada ya kuadhimisha miaka 100 ni kama tunaanza upya kazi ya umisheni upya. Kwa hivyo tuna matarajio makubwa ya kwamba mioyo ya watu itaweza kuelekezwa upya kwa ajili ya kutumika wakiwa na nguvu mpya.
Sherehe za maadhimisho haya zitakujia moja kwa moja hapa Kirk TV.
Karibuni nyote
tuadhimishe pamoja.
What happens when we are blessed? What happens when the Lord comes to expand? When the Lord comes to increase? Do we find ourselves calling people, telling them, you know, I am blessed, I have a new car? Do you go calling people? Why is it so difficult to talk about your blessings? What shall I render to the Lord for all his goodness to me?
We, the family of Elder Francis Njenga Kimani and the organizing committee, humbly appeals to friends and well-wishers for your assistance to raise funds for our son's medical bill and funeral expenses. Edwin Kariuki Njenga passed away a month ago while receiving treatment at Mathare Hospital, Nyeri County, where his body is lying pending clearance of the hospital bill, which amounted to 1.9 million Kenya shillings. Any amount will be highly appreciated. Contributions can be forwarded to Johnson Mwangi 0721 997 255 or Lydia Njoki 0728 559 278. May God bless you.
On how to make the bed. Yes, like that. Very good.
That we have just put on this one's end and do the same on the other side and put it together. So we have 2 love hearts on this end and 2 love hearts on the other end.
Just believe in yourself. If you do have a talent, try and let it out. Don't sleep on it.
Kaunti ya Meru, eneo la Chogoria, kitovu cha umisheni na upana la mashariki ya Kenya. Tangu mwaka 1922, miaka 100 baadaye, athari za watangulizi kama vile Dr. Clive Ivan na wenzake, matunda ya kazi yao, kumbukumbu tunazivuta. Ujio na makuzi ya elimu, maadamu kumsaidia Mwafrika kupiga teke ujinga.
Since we started diploma in nursing, we've been able to qualify more than 2,500 nurses.
Afya bora kwa wakazi, hospitali na vituo vya afya vinavyosifika kote.
Chogoria Hospital, as a main healthcare provider in this region, has been providing general healthcare services and also started specialized care services, so patients are able to access the basic care that they require in the various fields of health.
Kilimo cha kahawa na majani chai, kitega uchumi cha wakazi.
Wakati ule hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa hospitali, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa shule, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa kanisani. Wakati kahawa ilikuja, haya mambo yote yalitendeka. Watu walipata pesa ya kulipa shule, wakapata pesa ya kulipa hospitali, na katika kanisa walipata pesa ya kulipa.
Yote haya yakiwa chini ya mwavuli wa kiroho wa kanisa la Kipresbiteri la Afrika Mashariki.
Safari imekuwa pada shuka. Disruption moja ilikuja wakati KCA ilileta mambo ya mabadiliko ya mzungu arudi kwao, atoke Kenya, na hiyo ili affect hata hapa, kwa sababu watu wengine wetu karibu thuruthi mbili, 2/3 walitoka kanisa la Presbyterian.
Tunatarajia nguvu mpya ya kuendeleza kazi, kwa kuwa baada ya kuadhimisha miaka 100 ni kama tunaanza upya kazi ya umisheni upya. Kwa hivyo tuna matarajio makubwa ya kwamba mioyo ya watu itaweza kuelekezwa upya kwa ajili ya kutumika wakiwa na nguvu mpya.
Sherehe za maadhimisho haya zitakujia moja kwa moja hapa Kirk TV.
Karibuni nyote
tuadhimishe pamoja.
What happens when we are blessed? What happens when the Lord comes to expand? When the Lord comes to increase? Do we find ourselves calling people, telling them, you know, I am blessed, I have a new car? Do you go calling people? Why is it so difficult to talk about your blessings? What shall I render to the Lord for all his goodness to me?
We, the family of Elder Francis Njenga Kimani and the organizing committee, humbly appeals to friends and well-wishers for your assistance to raise funds for our son's medical bill and funeral expenses. Edwin Kariuki Njenga passed away a month ago while receiving treatment at Mathari Hospital, Nyeri County, where his body is lying pending clearance of the hospital bill, which amounted to 1.9 million Kenya shillings. Any amount will be highly appreciated. Contributions can be forwarded to Johnson Mwangi 0721 997 255 or Lydia Njoki 0728 559 278. May God bless you.
Kaunti ya Meru, eneo la Chogoria, kitovu cha umisheni na upana la mashariki ya Kenya. Tangu mwaka 1922, miaka 100 baadaye, athari za watangulizi kama vile Dr. Clive Ivan na wenzake, matunda ya kazi yao, kumbukumbu tunazivuta. Ujio na makuzi ya elimu, maadamu kumsaidia Mwafrika kupiga teke ujinga.
Since we started diploma in nursing, we've been able to qualify more than 2,500 nurses.
Afya bora kwa wakazi, hospitali na vituo vya afya vinavyosifika kote.
Chogoria Hospital, as a main healthcare provider in this region, has been providing general healthcare services and also started specialized care services, so patients are able to access the basic care that they require in the various fields of health.
Kilimo cha kahawa na majani chai, kitega uchumi cha wakazi.
Wakati ule hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa hospitali, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa shule, hakukuwa na pesa ya kulipa kanisani. Wakati kahawa ilikuja, haya mambo yote yalitendeka. Watu walipata pesa ya kulipa shule, wakapata pesa ya kulipa hospitali, na katika kanisa walipata pesa ya kulipa.
Yote haya yakiwa chini ya mwavuli wa kiroho wa kanisa la Kipresbiteri la Afrika Mashariki.
Safari imekuwa pada shuka. Disruption moja ilikuja wakati KCA ilileta mambo ya mabadiliko ya mzungu arudi kwao, atoke Kenya, na hiyo ili affect hata hapa, kwa sababu watu wengine wetu karibu thuruthi mbili, 2/3 walitoka kanisa la Presbyterian.
Tunatarajia nguvu mpya ya kuendeleza kazi, kwa kuwa baada ya kuadhimisha miaka 100 ni kama tunaanza upya kazi ya umisheni upya. Kwa hivyo tuna matarajio makubwa ya kwamba mioyo ya watu itaweza kuelekezwa upya kwa ajili ya kutumika wakiwa na nguvu mpya.
Sherehe za maadhimisho haya zitakujia moja kwa moja hapa Kirk TV.
Karibuni nyote
tuadhimishe pamoja.
Amani.
Nitasimama tena, nitasimama tena, nitasimama tena, nitasimama tena. Kama vile Mefiboshethi kasaulika miaka mingi kwa ajili ya ulemavu wake, siku ilipofika kala kanywa na mfalme. Hata Yesu mwana wa Mungu kadharauliwa na kuteswa msalabani asionekane kitu mbele ya macho ya wanadamu. Sulubiwa kauawa bure bila makosa, lakini siku ya kusimama ilipofika, pia tunaimba kwa jina la Yesu kuna uponyaji. Pia tunaimba kwa jina la Yesu kuinuliwa. Katika jina la Yesu kuna ushindi wema. Katika jina la Yesu nitasimama tena, nitasimama tena, nitasimama tena, nitasimama tena, nitasimama tena. Katika maisha ya mwanadamu kuna majira mengi. Kuna wakati wa huzuni tena furaha. Kuna wakati wa njaa na tena shibe. Kuna wakati wa kukosa na kupata.
Alright, welcome back again to Kirk in the Morning Entertainment on Friday, and kwenye studio I have my guest artist and John Mtugi right here in studio. Karibu sana John.
Asante sana.
And I know people wondering, you know, who was that singing on that song, and wondering maybe they don't know you. Tell us about John, you know, for someone who is just a new viewer and seeing you for the first time.
All right, thank you so much for having me. My name is John Mtugi. I'm a gospel minister through music. I'm born again. I love Jesus. He's my personal savior. I think that is very key. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 2 boys. I'm a Presbyterian. I lead worship. And in the church, I'm also in a team called Evangelism, where we do missions. What else? I'm a social worker by profession. I'm also a music minister, as I've said. I've done so many songs, and I thank God for this far that He has brought me.
Talking about you've done so many songs, let's talk about that song that just played, you know, even though we just tested a little bit of it, we'll be testing much of it as we continue. Tell us about that song and, you know, how you came up with it, and, you know, the entire discussion about you coming up with your music.
Oh, well, I started singing in the year 2030. That's when I went to the studio, but I started formally, should I say officially, in 2014. And so far, I think the song that you've done, it should be in my 4th album. How I started, I just started singing in church, and that was all. I didn't know that I had the gift. So it's people who are coming to the church who identified the gift in me and some of the youth that we are working with. So this specific song that Nitasimama Tena, it is one of those seasons. Like, you know, in humans, in the life of a human being, there are times seasons are low, there are times seasons are high. And so this song, I was just encouraging myself and encouraging someone that regardless the season, you will still rise again. And that's why even in Joel 2:25, it says that I will restore the ears that the cankerworm have they've eaten, meaning that there are seasons for the cankerworms to eat what belongs to you, and there are seasons for those seasons to be restored. Yeah, so it's just an encouragement.
Definitely, because even if you listen to that song, the lyrics are also appealing, and zinaambia mtu asimame tena.
Yes.
You talked about 2014 ndo ulianza music and you know, formally or rather officially as well.
Yes.
How's the journey been between 2014 and actually 2014? That was the peak of the Kenyan gospel industry, because that's when some awards like Groove Awards became so much famous. But we've seen the transition from 2014 up to now. How has the journey been for you ever since you joined the gospel ministry through music formally?
Let me say that the journey, it has been challenging, but it's also encouraging, because one thing that I learned, when you're doing music, you should have a goal and a vision. And someone told us, when you're doing something, you should have a vision, meaning if you don't know maybe your target audience or the people that you should be ministering to, in one or the way, you will swerve off from the vision. So for me, it has been a great experience when you're ministering to people and you receive texts. People are telling you that they're getting encouraged. Maybe I've not reached the peak where I want, because like in every man's life or the vision that we have, we all desire that we should reach somewhere. But though I feel I haven't reached there, so far I feel good that I've done what God has called me to do. Because when you're doing God's calling, then there's that satisfaction in your heart when you're doing what you love to do and what God has called you to do. Yes, you've talked about the Groove Awards and all that. Music, it has really transitioned. But I would love to say that we have been called differently. And maybe my music will minister to these kind of people. And wherever they are, they're getting blessed, and I feel okay. So even as we continue ministering and maybe singing, God knows where else He's going to take you. Because with God, it's about progression. It's not like you do this thing and you stop there. It's a progression. Yeah.
And talking about progression, I've seen so much of the music and different music, and you've sung them in different ways as well. How do you say the journey has been for you? You know, composing the music and releasing these songs, especially I was talking to another artist and I was saying, the challenge that we face most is that we have to do projects, and we have to do projects that force us to spend a lot on them, and trying to come up with the music each and every time you want to release a song. How has the experience been for you?
Well, I would like to say that music is it's for people who do music. Sometimes you guys see the end product, but you really don't know what a music minister go through, because you cannot do a song without money. Of course, it entails in the financial aspect. It entails a lot of commitment, because again, you just don't want to come and sing. Even God is a God of order, and also God loves good things. I cannot just say, now that I'm a singer, I will go and then maybe I record with a phone, alafu niwatumie. Even you guys, you're looking at the quality. So in as much we know that it is the music aspect is not easy. We also need to give quality. And another thing that I've also learned from my side is that God will keep on giving you songs to minister. And sometimes you even ask, how will I get money or even funds for this? But God is faithful. He'll always provide for you whenever you want to minister a song.
I was listening to your music, and the composure of the music, they follow a certain criteria, you know. If you listen to the lyrics, you know, it's the way they follow each other, and in most of your songs, and it shows that you sat down and wrote. You wrote your own music, and how do you come up with your songs? Do they come when you're sleeping? Do they come very early in the morning? How do you come up with these songs?
Well, I will say that most of my music, my songs, I've done them in the prayer closet. But like this one, Simama Tena, like I said, it's a season where you feel like, it just comes the lyrics, nitasimama tena, and then you feel like it's an encouragement. And then sometimes how I get to know that God wants me to minister this song, it will ring in my head. Like every time I'm singing this song, nitasimama tena. There are times I also, even in the bathroom, everywhere, I just get the song, and what I do, when it keeps on ringing, I record on my phone, then in a couple. Then maybe the season in Africa, I say, this is the season for the song.
You revisit the song.
Yes.
Talking about that song, there's your song Badilisha. We were listening with my producer that song early in the morning, Badilisha, and it's a very good song. Talk to us about Badilisha.
Wow, yeah, Badilisha. Badilisha, again, it's also another season where you desire a relationship with God. Because what I realized in this journey, sometimes as music ministers, we really want to be famous, we really want to be known, which is okay, but what we keep on forgetting is that the one who has called us, we need a closer relationship with him. So even if I'm known out there, the question is, the one who has given me the gift, am I closer? Do I have an intimate relationship with him? So God gave me this relationship that I am a vessel. A time will come and maybe many people will know you, but remember that you are a vessel. And he gave me the book of Timothy, where he said that in God's house, there are many vessels. There are vessels of honor, wood, gold. So I was also challenging myself, what kind of a vessel am I in the house of God? That's how the song came in.
Badilisha.
Yes.
I think for you, we can be able to do Badilisha. If my producer has that song, we can do Badilisha. Then we come back and continue our discussion. In case you're wondering which song we're talking about, this is Badilisha.
Iwe kwako kama ibada ya sifa, Bwana. Moyo wa mwanadamu umejawa udhaifu mwingi. Ila wewe Mungu uchunguzae moyo na kumtenda kila mmoja kwa matendo yake, badilisha.
All right, Badilisha, you're one of the greatest music that I can say. I listen to your, to your songs. There's usually that concept. There is a point that you get a breakthrough, and now your music now start, getting received by many people, and you can also see that you are now beginning, to reach a bigger audience. What point and how do you tell us about your breakthrough?
Breakthrough is in terms of anticipation, or the breakthrough so far that I've gotten. Which one?
Yes, the breakthrough in a point where you now started seeing your music now is paying off in what you intended to do with it.
I will say, okay, I don't know what we really call a breakthrough, because again, I've said in the intention that you have is what really matters. There's someone, when they do music and they don't get maybe returns in terms of revenue, for them, they haven't done anything. There are those who, if you have ministered and a soul has gotten born again, maybe someone was sick, they have been healed through listening to your song. When someone texts me and they tell me that their lives have been transformed because of listening to the music, then for me, it is still a breakthrough. Because why was I doing this music? I think the intention, when we're intentional with what we do, because music is not, that's why there's music industry, and there's also ministry, part of it. Ministry is where you minister to people, and then now maybe industry is where you desire revenue. One thing that I've learned is you can be doing ministry, but what I've seen out of my own experience is that God will always bring other ways of blessing you in the same ministry. What am I saying? When you talk of finances, personally, yes, I've sung, but many places that I've gone, I have gone to preach through my music. So music has given me a platform to go and preach. And of course, maybe sometimes when you go to preach there, they will appreciate you. That is another bit of it. But the intention should be right. You want to minister to people. When you're singing, don't sing with the mind of nataka hii song inilete pesa. Then you're not doing the right thing. Yeah. So when you talk of breakthrough, it depends on how did you start and what was your intention. Yeah.
Looking at the right from 2014, maybe the time that you started singing and starting doing gospel ministry officially, and up to now, how would you say the gospel ministry has been doing in the country as well?
What I've seen, okay, I really, it's not, I don't want to put it like I'm really judging up there, but I've realized music has become like cloud chasing, where the intention has changed. There's that aspect of it is God who has given us this gift, so we are using this gift for His glory. That one has changed. We are more focused on pleasing men than God. But someone will say that when you kneel before God, He will create platforms for you before men. So the music, I don't know whether I call it industry or I call it what, it is not how it started. But I thank God because there are ministers who are still committed, who are doing it right. Unajua, at the time of Israel, when people were singing and they were sinning and doing other things, kulikuwa na remnants. So even right now, bado kuna remnants. There are people who are doing it right, with right intention. But I can give a percentage like 60 there. It's about cloud chasing. People want to be known. The intention may change. Yeah.
And just talking about the intention and the desire of someone doing their own music, let's talk about, what do you expect in your coming project, and what do you expect from you? Because I also know you've released a very new song you'll be playing as you conclude. But what do you expect from you 3 months before the year ends?
I'm not sure 3 years before the year ends, but what I know is that as God gives me God gives me the message, and of course breakthrough financially, I will continue releasing songs, because I've said it's not easy. Doing music from audio to video, it requires finances. So it's not like you just wake up and do music. You also need, there are many aspects that are involved even to do music. So yes, I will continue singing as God enables me, as He provides for me, I will. Yes.
And someone will be there asking, you know, how can they find you and where can they find you, your social media pages maybe. And also, for someone who is starting to sing also, would be your now time to also tell them how they can start and, you know, and just give a piece of advice to them even as we come to the end.
Oh yeah, before I give my social media handle, I would like to encourage maybe someone who is starting, let them start with the right intention. I've seen many, they start, you know, I don't know, there's this thing, when you start to sing, you want, there's that intention of, I want to be known. But I want to encourage those who are starting, start with the right motive. Don't expect too much. Actually, what you should be expecting is people to be blessed. Then, as you continue, God will continue to minister and even open doors for you. And I also want to encourage them and tell them, it is not an easy journey, but trust in God, pray, let your song be backed by heavens, because I think that's the most important thing. When you know that the heavens are backing whatever you're doing, then you're safe. For my media handles, when you go to Facebook, when you go to Instagram, all the social media, it is Joan Mutugi. Yeah.
So there's no any Joan Mutugi music, Joan?
No. I've just done Joan Mutugi. It's only TikTok. The other day I joined and it's Joan Mutugi 7. But the other ones, Joan Mutugi.
So if you go on social media, you can be able to find Joan Mutugi. And also on YouTube, you can find her music. There's so many music there that you can get to listen to. And as we conclude, talk to us about, you know, Vipawa vya Mungu. That's your newest release.
Yeah. That's really a wonderful message that God gave me. I don't know, I realized that when I was going to preach, like in many churches that I preached, I always mentioned that message is coming from the book of Romans 11:39, that the gifts of God are without repentance, or the gifts of God are irrevocable. That ile gift God has given you, haizi kutoa. And that's why we have like many preachers, many singers, they're misusing the gift. The gift is still there. But of course, when we go to heaven, we shall account for the gift. So God was encouraging me, like I was telling me to encourage people that let's use the gift that God has given us. There are many people who are not even working for God because they encountered discouragements and they're not working for God. So it is all about the gifts of God. Are we using the gifts that God has given unto us well? Ama tumelalisha vipawa. Yeah, what was lalisha vipawa?
What was lalisha vipawa? I guess before we do Vipawa vya Mungu, because that is what we will be finishing up with, let me just take a look at what people are saying right here. And I can see Kill Switch Wangong is watching and saying, I'm watching from Gong. As well, talking about, I can see our mentor, Mom Joanne is here, and we are very happy. So that is Kill Switch Wangong. And Pabor Kushmine Juma, very hard names here, talks about, Mom, this is nice, I'm watching you from Ngong, God bless you so much. And there's Jennifer Smith who says, it's a good morning, I'm tuned in from Embakasi East. It's a very good show. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for tuning in. And also Sheila Nyasigomre says, God bless you all and keep up with the good work. May His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. In Jesus' name, and says Shalom. Those are some of the feedback that you know, we're getting from people who are following up close. It seems that there's so many people who are looking forward to watching this interview with you. But because we need to place them, let's do Vipawa vya Mungu as we finish and as we conclude. Joan Mutugi will be doing for us Vipawa vya Mungu. That is a new release 2 weeks ago.
No, 2 days.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago. A very new song. So she'll be taking us through that song. But for me, it's a wrap up this morning, Entertainment Friday. My name is Chris Sambo. But for now, we're doing Vipawa vya Mungu. Alafu tumalize. See you next week on Friday, and good morning.
Nabii mtabiri kwa haki na ukweli, waimbaji sifa wangapi wamjua Mungu kupitia vipawa hivi? Tusiwe kama yule kichakazi alikabidhiwa talanta moja, akachimba akaficha kule chini. Aliye na kitu atazidishiwa, asiye na kitu atalicho nacho kichukulie. Kwa imani